In case you didn't understand Yoruba, that song essentially was talking about you taking up your cross. Whether your cross is heavy or is not heavy, that actually is not the issue. The issue is, will you take up your cross? Unfortunately, most people nowadays are no longer aware that whether they like it or not, a cross is apportioned, allotted to every man and woman. It is automatic. As you are born, you have a cross to carry. If you are conscious of it, there's a very good chance that you'll be able to do something good with it. But if you are not conscious of it, you'll just be trudging through life with a lot of pain in your heart, with a lot of time wasted, a lot of resources wasted. And at the end of the day, you are wondering, where is God in all this? This is the voice of hope yet again. You are welcome. It's another day, another week. We're happy to be here with you. Why? Because we know we are enjoying a privilege. Privilege of being alive. So, what are you going to do with your own privilege? The choice ultimately will always be yours. Last week, you remember, we were talking about Jesus and his teachings on the commandments. And he made it very clear that his responsibility, his task, his mission was not to abolish the law. No. It was to ensure that the law is fully explained, that is, upgraded, updated in the hearts of men. So today, where do you stand? Are you among those ones in whose heart the law will be updated? Or you will be among those ones who will keep on saying the commandments are no longer important. Jesus has cancelled them. Well, the choice is yours. All I know is that Jesus said, I have not come to abolish the law. And I assure you, the heavens and the earth will pass away, but not the tiniest bit of comma or full stop of the law will be cancelled. That's my paraphrase of what Jesus said. Now, today, since this is a radio program and is meant to be a live program, let me share the usual numbers, phone numbers, that if you wish to make a call, you can call to participate in the program. Question or comment, no problem. Anyone. 0805 094 2988. 0808 544 1425. 0703 956 6844. Any of those numbers, try them and let's see if you can get through. Meanwhile, last week we were talking about creating a YouTube channel so that if you can connect to Facebook, you can log on to YouTube and still be part of what is happening on the Voice of Hope. Well, I'm glad to tell you that that channel has come up, the Voice of Hope So just search for it on YouTube. And of course, actually I realized that there are a number of Voice of Hope on YouTube. But when you see the Voice of Hope that you are looking for, I'm sure you won't miss it because it will be very obvious to you. Now, let's move on and look further at what Jesus taught the people. Matthew chapter 5, 27, 28, verses 27, 28. Jesus said, "Now, you have heard it said to the people in the old days, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that every man who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Now, for those who say Jesus has abolished the commandments, he has abolished the law, why would Jesus take his time to explain fine details that people were not aware of concerning the commandments if his mission was to abolish everything? Please think what Jesus is saying here. Again, last week, he talked about you not committing murder. Today, we are seeing where he's talking about the 7th of the 10. And in line with his teaching about the 6th commandment, Jesus expounds that adultery is not just about the physical act of participating in the actual illegal sexual act, but rather entertaining the thoughts, making a plan, fantasizing about what you would like to do to a woman that you don't have legal authority over, constitutes adultery. So think about that. Because most of us were wont to believe that, maybe I didn't sleep with her, I didn't commit adultery. Jesus says no. The fact that you thought and you planned and you fantasized, you saw a woman passing by, and in your heart, you were busy fantasizing, what if, you have already committed the act of adultery in your heart. So you see, by extension, the entertained thoughts and fantasy in your heart tantamount to coveting another man's wife or another man's potential wife. Are you with me on that? Whether the woman is married or not is irrelevant. Why? Because if she is not married at that point, she has a potential to marry. And you have been violating her in your thoughts. Think about it. So you see, the act of committing a sin is not just when you do it. The act starts in your mind, in your thoughts. That is what Jesus is saying. So you see, Jesus is taking you deeper. He's trying to give you a deeper understanding of what constitutes sin. That is all he was trying to do. The question now is, Now, if the woman is already married, of course, we have said coveting her is immediate adultery. If she is not married, but then eventually gets married, adultery can be an immediate or potential crime against another man. So you see, adultery is a sin not just against the woman, but against another man. You have to understand that. Now, whichever way you look at it, adultery is something that Jesus says you should run away from. That you should run away from adultery. Jesus hereby links the sin of adultery, which is the seventh commandment, to the sin of covetousness, which is the 10th commandment. Again, you can go back to refer to the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 17. You will see it there. Now, with minimal imagination, the breaking of the law against covetousness can be extended to explain the breaking of the law against stealing, which is the 8th commandment. Thou shalt not steal. Now, that's in Exodus 20, verse 15. It is hardly possible for anyone to steal another man's property without first coveting it. That is the truth. Every sin, therefore, starts with something. Illegal desire. That's what coveting is all about. Now, even if the man has a psychiatric condition called kleptomania, which in reality is a disease of perpetual covetousness. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of that big word, kleptomania. People who are kleptomanic, they see something. They don't really need it, but they just must have it. It's a psychiatric condition. Perpetual covetousness. So, you see, some men have that problem. Once they see a woman, perpetual covetousness, they can't control themselves anymore. When they see something that belongs to somebody, they can't control themselves. They just want to have it. Every sin starts with lack of self-control, covetousness. Now, the commandments 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all defining crimes against another person. It is to be realized that covetousness, which is the 10th commandment, is at the root of breaking every other commandment. And every other commandment that we are talking about here have to do with interpersonal relationships between one man and other men. It should therefore not be surprising to you when Jesus said, if anyone breaks one commandment, he has broken them all. So can you now see the basis of that teaching? Once you covet, it will lead you to something else. So Jesus said, if you break one, you break all. Why? Because all the commandments are interlinked somehow. When a man has unlawful sexual intercourse with any woman, whether she's married or not, that man, in essence, is stealing from another man what is supposed to rightfully belong to that man. So you see, you commit adultery, you are already a thief. So you have broken 2 commandments, whether you like it or not. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. And at this point, I want to make it clear to every one of you out there listening to me. Because you have refused to follow simple instructions that Jesus gave, that is why you cannot be a good Christian today. If you don't understand the commandments, if you don't make the effort to obey, to practice the guidelines of the commandments, you cannot be a good follower of Jesus. It's as simple as that. Covetousness is synonymous with many other words, which include cupidity and longing, both of which also have to do with desire. Oftentimes, the desire that ends in covetousness is illicit, illegitimate desire, illegal desire. More often than not, the flame of such illegitimate desires in people are kindled by acts of other people. Did you actually get what I just said? That's more often than not, the illegal desire in somebody was as a result of somebody else's action or inaction. That is a fact. And no one can run away from it. That is why what I'm about to say next, some people may not like it. I agree. Because they don't want to accept responsibility. So they will not like it. But I tell you, it is not what I am saying. It is what the scripture has said. I am only bringing it to your notice tonight in case you were never aware of it, or you were aware of it, but you chose to ignore it. Let me bring it to your notice tonight. Now, the lustful desire of a man for a woman oftentimes is kindled by specific provocative acts originating in the woman. Although we can clearly point out here that the fact that the woman's acts were provocative does not excuse the man. Please bear that in mind. The commonest stimulant of illegitimate sexual desire in the man is provoked by what the man sees. Now, we're in the realm of simple psychology now. Ask any psychologist. They will tell you that what the man sees has a strong tendency to excite him. And for the woman, more often than not, it's not what she sees, it's what she hears. So you see, the man and the woman are naturally different in what they respond to. Please bear that in mind too. Now, light that enters the eye of anyone is actually an energy. Light is energy. And the energy stimulates the vision that makes one to see, and which the pathway in the eyes will get stimulated. And the pathway in the eyes leads to a specific area of the brain. And in the man, that area of the brain is wired, naturally wired, to respond to the stimulus coming from the woman. That sincerely is the truth. Simple science. But then most people don't want to accept that anymore. It's either they are ignorant of the fact, or they are not ignorant, but they just want to reject the fact. The man's psyche is wired to respond sexually to what he sees. And this leads to generation and perpetuation of thoughts of sexual intercourse in the man. This is to say that a man is more likely to be sexually stimulated by what he sees. So, for the women folk, this is a very important message. In what way are you contributing and promoting the weakness of some men? Yes, I agree. Some men are weak, I agree. But in what way are you helping them to become weaker? That is what we are talking about this night. Now, for the woman, the neural stimulatory pathway is a bit, rather than vision, the woman's pathway is more connected to the auditory and touch system. Hence, she is more likely to be sexually stimulated, and it is already well established. A woman responds more to what she hears and what she feels. In this regard, when a woman dresses provocatively, dress to kill. In the degree to which the cloth is body hugging, or to the extent of the exposure of certain scintillating parts of the body, then there is a high probability that men will be led into coveting that woman. Are you with me? So you see, the more you dress to kill, the more you are attracting the thoughts, sexual thoughts of men towards yourself. Even if they don't physically assault you, their thoughts are already assaulting you, although you may not know. That is a fact. Now, when men begin to covet a woman, there will be a lusting in their hearts after that woman. Of course, as you are hearing me now, I know that this is era of modernism, feminism, and such other fads. I agree. What we hear everywhere now is, it is the woman's freedom to wear whatever she likes to wear, and it is nobody else's business. Well, notwithstanding what the feminist position is, let the woman who has any understanding at all listen to what the scriptures are saying. And one scripture that I want you to listen to says, "Woe unto the person who causes other persons to sin." And who said that? No other person than Jesus himself. Jesus says, woe. Well, the word woe actually is a curse. It means, of course, you know what it means. Woe betide. When you are angry with somebody or whatever, say, woe betide you. You see, you have put so many curses on them in just one single statement. Jesus says, categorically, he declared it, that woe unto that person who leads somebody else because of that person's weakness to fall into sin. So my dear sisters out there, are you hearing me tonight? And do you think there is a need for you to think about what we are saying? Yes, I agree it's your body. I do agree. I agree that in modern fads, they say you can do whatever you like. I agree. But then, are you listening to what Jesus is saying? When he says, woe unto you, when you become the source of somebody falling into sin. Have you ever read the scripture and you've seen that? Have you ever heard it? While you are thinking of that, let's listen to this piece of music.
I'm pressing on the upward way. New heights I'm gaining every day. Still praying as I'm on the road. Lord, my feet on higher ground. Don't let me up and let me stand. My faith on heaven stable land. My higher plane and I am bound. Upon my feet on higher ground. My heart is low, designed to stay. My doubts arise, and there's this day. For some may dwell with those around. I pray my faith is higher ground. Lift me up and let me stand. My faith on heaven's stable land. My higher plane, and I am bound. Upon my feet on higher ground. I want to live above the fold. The Satan talks, and we are held. For there's taught the joyful sound, the song of saints on higher ground. Lift me up and let me stand. My faith on heaven's stable land. My higher plane, and I am bound. Upon my feet on higher
You see, the essence of the voice of hope coming to you is for you to become more aware so that you can have that desire to have your feet planted on higher ground. Higher ground that is in Jesus, the Christ of God. See, that is the essence of the voice of hope. Now, a woman that is inappropriately dressed in a public space has intentionally or unintentionally set out to provoke, to stimulate the sexual desire of men who are not strong enough to withstand the onslaught against their senses. Remember, we said what the man sees stimulates him. I hope you remember that. It's basic science. I didn't just say that. I was taught that in psychology class. That what the man sees stimulates him. Whereas what the woman hears and the feelings that she's feeling as you are rubbing her body, those are the things that tend to stimulate the woman. So you see, a woman that dresses to stimulate people, such a woman, whether she likes it or not, whether she accepts it or not, is spiritually partly responsible for and will also partly pay the price for the man that falls into sin because of her. Think about it. You have dressed to kill. Indeed, you will succeed in killing some weak men. You will kill them because you led them, you helped them to fall into sin. You will not get away scot-free. You will pay part of the price. That's not me. That is Jesus telling you. And that's why I say, woe unto you that become the source for somebody's fall into sin. It's a spiritual law. Whether you are aware of it or not is absolutely irrelevant. So that's why I have a responsibility to share this with you. You may not like it, but then that's not important for me. Now, let me tell you something. The more the number of men that lust after you, the woman, because of your dressing or whatever, the more the price you will have to pay. Because as the number is increasing, your own debt is increasing too. This, therefore, should be a warning alarm for those women out there who think that they are being sexy and they are not aware of the spiritual consequence of the actions they are undertaking. You see, I am bringing to your notice that what you do or fail to do have spiritual consequences. Woman, if you are married already, sincerely, be as sexy as much as you desire, but then it's for your husband. In the confines of your abode. I had a discussion with one woman one day. I had no choice but to talk to her. Sincerely, about 80% of her breasts were outside. So I approached her. I said, Madam, and your dress is nice, but this your chest, there's a problem there. He said, it's my husband that bought it for me. He likes me to flaunt my breast so that other men can see it. I said, well, your husband bought it for you. But you yourself, do you know what you are doing? Because if you know what you are doing, from what you have said now, your husband wants you to flaunt your breasts for other men to see. Do you know that you are the one that will pay the price, not your husband? Because all the thoughts and the lustings of these men will be upon you spiritually. She had no answer to what I said. So she kept quiet. I just told her, I said, well, madam, go and think about it. Just think about it. Now, since thought seem to be so pervasive in the breaking of the law, it is pertinent to ask, what is thought? And how do thoughts come about? The thoughts in your mind. What are they? How do they come about? Now, understanding thoughts, what thoughts are, its origins, and pervasiveness requires understanding what man is all about. A number of my listeners may find the explanation that I am about to make now a bit difficult to accept. Fine. All I ask is, no matter how difficult it sounds to you right now, don't throw it away. Note it. Keep it somewhere. Think about it. Pray about it. That's all I ask of you. But I will tell you that if you really want to help yourself, look for some basic books on human physiology and psychology. Just, in fact, you can even go online. You don't need to even go to a library. Go online and search. What are thoughts? If you do that, then you will find it easier to follow, to understand, and to accept what I am about to say. Basically, the human body works on the basis of electrical charges and impulses that the cells in your body generate. Cells in the body communicate with each other through chemicals that transmit electrical impulses. Somebody is saying, electrical impulses in the body. Yes, that is the truth. Basic physiology, that's what it is. Every cell in your body transmits very low voltage electricity. Now, even your heart, how does your heart work? Your heart beats because there is an electrical impulse generator. Yes, so electrical impulse generator in your heart. For those who are science-minded or were medically minded, it's located in the right atrium, which is the upper chamber of the heart, the right part. The electrical impulses of the heart can be measured by the use of what medical doctors refer to as electrocardiogram, simply called ECG. So if you've ever heard about ECG, what ECG does is to measure the electrical impulses generated in your heart. That's what ECG does. So you can now believe that your body is about electricity. Now, when the ECG machine begins to measure your heart, any irregularity in the power generation will cause irregular heartbeat, and the ECG will see it, will detect it. In certain cases, if the heart generator becomes so bad, there may be a need to replace it with an artificial generator that is called a pacemaker. So you see, if you've ever heard that word pacemaker, it's a generator planted into the heart, because the heart is no longer able to generate the normal electrical impulses for itself. So you can put in a pacemaker to help it. Are you with me? Good. Now, when the generator of the heart stops suddenly for whatever reason, medically trained people can use an external generator to restart the heart. And how do they do that? They deliver a certain amount of electricity to the heart. Of course, you must have watched some of these action movies where they show a medical scene. They say the person has a heart attack or something. The heart has stopped beating. You say they will bring out two paddles connected to a machine that regulates the amount of electricity. And they will say, everybody stand back, because if you don't stand back and you tap into that electricity, your own heart will develop a problem. So they apply the paddles to the person whose heart has stopped to restart the heart. Electricity. That's what they use. Now, in certain cases, you find that when the heart is restarted by the first delivery of electricity, it may not respond. So they apply another shock. I think they can, most often they apply like 2 or 3. And usually within the 2 or 3 attempts, the heart will start again. So you see, every single muscle in your body contracts and relaxes, all by electrical discharges and transmission. Such impulses, electrical impulses in your muscles can also be measured, just like you can measure with ECG, electrical impulses in the heart. You can measure electrical impulses in the muscles by use of electromyogram machine, EMG machine. The same thing applies to the brain. The brain, which in reality is the body's computer, the CPU, Central Processing Unit. The brain works by generating and transmitting electrical impulses, which can also be measured by what is called electroencephalogram, EEG machine. So you see, every living person lives because he or she is still able to maintain the electrical circuitry required to sustain life. The generation and transmission of this electrical energy is through the agency of specific chemicals in the body. So in effect, your body undergoes a chemical electromagnetic process. Wow. I have delved into a bit of science tonight. But then we have to. Because when you understand basic science, you will understand your body better. Remember, we went into this basic science because we asked the question, what are thoughts? How do they originate? How do they flow? I won't be able to go into that this evening because studio time is running out. But then, keep it in mind, as it pleases God, next Sunday, we'll meet up here again and we'll be able to discuss further electricity and how it affects thoughts, or how it becomes a factor in your thought processes. So as we begin to round up for the night, it is my prayer to help you so that in the days ahead, you will be able to understand the basic elements of how your mind, your body, your thoughts are all linked together. That is the basic goal. So, I will leave you with our music, The Blessing. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. And may His face continue to shine upon you. All for the sake of His glory and honor. As you decide to open up your minds and your hearts, your thoughts to Him. Amen.